The enemies within. Now, the point of me saying that is a few reasons. First, we're going to talk about the money. I mean, we hear another $312 billion was released to you won't believe who that Doge just came out and found. Also, we hear that Canada has elected a new person to represent the Liberal Party that replaced Trudeau. It's even worse. And I believe now we're going to feel pressure, not in a way that scares us, but in a way that we may have an enemy right next door. Also, we're going to talk about how the attacks have come more and more because of the rhetoric that we have. Did you hear about the fact that the Secret Service had to take someone out at the White House? All because they were trying to go after Trump. Did you hear about all the people that were destroying Teslas? Well, there was someone funding that, by the way. But do you see how when people are trying to do the right thing, they will be attacked? And that's what we're talking about today. The sad thing is most of these people that are doing the attacking and doing the protesting are all paid for by someone. We'll discuss that today. Also, we're going to discuss China, Russia, and Iran. The reason Trump is pushing for peace so much in Ukraine and Russia is maybe because of this right here. Because the more we push towards Russia, the more Russia moves towards China. China's economy has fell flat. It's fell into deflation. They need Russia. They need trade. Well, if we hurt them on the trade side, who are they going to lean to? Russia. We're going to talk about a military exercise they just did with Iran. It should make you think a little bit about peace. It's very important because we're putting all these powers together who tend to have weapons of mass destruction in the real fact. And then lastly, we're going to discuss Europe once more. Again, Romania. I brought attention to Romania when no one was talking about it and how they're taking out their leaders. And now lab-grown meat is coming more and more prevalent. It's crazy times. And again, this is one we have to make sure that we're the stopgap. We see Canada going more left. We see Europe going more left. We see that some of our quote-unquote best friends are turning against us. Is it all because we think that we shouldn't be in NATO and we think that we shouldn't be funding wars and we think that we should be more sovereign? It's amazing to me. I think it's more of a jealousy that they're having. Unbelievable. Let's jump into these stories today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go in here, tell us that you're new. Also, subscribe to the channel. That way you always know what's going on. We share daily videos on stockpile prepping, but also on current events. So please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Remember, you are entered each and every month in a giveaway. So all you have to do is make sure you are commenting, give us a thumbs up, and subscribing on this channel, Life with Kobe Mac, and then the Max Life. We have two winners. The Max Life gift goes out tomorrow. We're getting the package in, so we're going to be sending out the winner of this last month here to a Bella Sea Witch that won last month here. So please make sure you are subscribed so that way you can be entered into the giveaway. Now let's jump into the content of today. Let's talk about the financials first, and then we're going to jump into some of these other stories because they all have something to do with truly enemies against the American people. Now, I didn't say America because I believe there's bad players in America, which is our politicians and some of the ones that are spending this money and blowing this money. But we have enemies that are looking to hurt us. Let's talk about some of this. Now, Doge just came out and uncovered a massive amount of money. $312 million were loaned out to borrowers. And you're like, well, Kobe, I mean, that's not even $1 billion. I mean, we're talking big numbers. Now we need to save trillions. $312 million went to borrowers who were under 11 years old. It says the corruption was real. People need to be prosecuted for this because not only can you not get a loan from any bank if you're under 18 without a cosigner that is at least an adult, we see that the government gave $312 million in loan disbursements to people that were 11 years old and younger. Now that's corrupt and that's laundering. That's what that is. I want you to listen to this, and this goes back to the debt problem, why it's such a big deal. It says, try to realize this and what our debt actually means. This guy shared this. It says, don't think our debt is a big deal. Listen to this, 1 trillion seconds. If you put $1 trillion into trillion seconds, now listen to this, 1 trillion seconds is equivalent to 31,700 years, okay? 36.5 trillion seconds, which is around our debt, actually it's climbing, is 1,150 years. Now, just to put in context what trillions are, I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just numbers. It's unbelievable. The only way to actually ever pay that off, we can't ever pay that off. I want you to understand that. America cannot pay that off. We don't make enough money. We don't come close to making enough money. We would have to cut our budget to literally nothing and part-time workers all the way out through our government to even make a dent in it over the next 30 or 40 years. The only way to fix that is almost like a reset. But we are making good trajectories when we say, okay, we're finding $312 million given to kids, loan disbursements back in 2020. But again, I come back and say that if we're not watching Congress, they just keep blowing it anyway. But put that in perspective. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. That is just mind-blowing. So it shows money is so flippantly spent in Washington. And until we get a hold of that, I don't think we'll ever actually see the light of day. Now, we're making good roads in there. And to be honest with you, like the moves to move out of NATO, of course, yes, that gets us out of war, but also it gets us out of a lot of debt. NATO, we spent, over the last decade, dealing with NATO, we spent $8.4 trillion to, quote-unquote, protect the world. $8.4 trillion. Think how much that would have went to helping pay our debts off. Think about the trillions of dollars worth of deficits we have. So the reason that Elon Musk and Trump and them are pushing towards Mike Lee, are pushing towards exit of NATO, for one thing, NATO does nothing but drain us. But really it puts us in this war. And I mean, prime example, look at Ukraine. Prime example, look at all these other situations. Prime example, look at the $8.4 trillion we spent, while the other nations altogether only spent around $3 trillion. So does that make sense to you that we stay in a NATO alignment that we're not even getting a fair share of payments per capita? I mean, it's kind of like the trade deficits. It's amazing how we look as the bad guy. And all it is because it's like we pay for friends to like us. You know, you ever met that person who has a rich friend and the only reason they like them, they actually don't, they just tolerate them. They just like them because they have money. That's kind of like what we have here. No one actually likes America, but they live off our money, so then they tolerate us. Well, it's time to break that relationship. And if we can't have equal playing fields and equal friendships here, let's have no friendships at all. And that kind of leads right into the next story. Canada. Canada just brought in a new prime minister replacement, which is going to be Mr. Carney. Mr. Carney is a extreme leftist, tied to global initiatives, actually tied to Miss Ghislaine Maxwell. Ain't that kind of weird? Tied to WEF. Also pushing the fact that they're not going to be as nice and sovereign to America as Canada has been. It's amazing. Again, they live off of us, but then they're going to try to put tariffs on us. All the while, they're griping about our 25% tariffs. Remember what I said yesterday? China just hit them with a 100% tariff. Now, you won't hear them gripe and complain about that because it doesn't fit the narrative and it doesn't make them look good or make them look like they're the winners here and the ones that they're a victim. No, it doesn't, because China people could care less about the propaganda. But Americans love it, and American media loves it. And so therefore now you're seeing them gripe about a 25% tariff. I mean, you see Ontario's guy, he's like, oh, I love Trump, but I mean, gosh, look at what he's done. He's made huge mistakes. We're going to put 25% tariffs on him. All the while, what you don't know is China has put a 100% tariff on Canada, and they won't reciprocate with China. Isn't that funny how that works, how the media picks up on that story, but not the 100% from China? They'll pick up on the 25% of America because they don't like Trump. Well, that is the reason we're seeing the enemies come after us, especially in the conservative movement. Let's talk about what happened just to Trump. Trump's pushing exit NATO. Trump's pushing not giving money to fraud. Trump's pushing for tariffs. Well, just this week, we see that a dealership for Elon Musk was literally burned, destroying all the cars, trying to do as much as they could to cause problems for Elon Musk and his bottom line. Now, I'm not a Tesla person, don't drive a Tesla. I do know a few people that have them, but what's so funny is Tesla was the most sold vehicle worldwide last year. So it didn't impact him too much. But this is what happens. We see that so many people that were liberals are violent, and they're actually going to destroy things that other creators have made, other innovators have made, other entrepreneurs have made. Now, just think if a bunch of conservatives went in and started destroying a liberal place like Target, or a liberal place like Starbucks, or a liberal store, and didn't do much but just bust it down and burn it to the ground. They would have mass arrest. These liberal cities would throw every conservative, in prison. And this happened, of course, in liberal cities, so it's just like a pat on the back. No, don't worry about it. Elon Musk is rich, no big deal. But here's the thing. Paid protesters against Tesla. It came out that one protester actually told the secret. Who paid these protesters to go and just tear down the Tesla dealership? It wasn't just because they don't like Elon Musk. They probably have no idea what Elon Musk has even done. It came out, listen to this. Recent protests outside Tesla locations have been highlighted by social media posts where protesters admitted being paid for demonstrating against Elon Musk and Dogecoin. These protests are part of the larger movement to refer to as the Tesla takedown. The Tesla takedown has faced major problems. They have vandalized and made attacks on Tesla owners and Tesla dealerships. The purportedly linked political funding sources come from ActBlue. ActBlue also has a big funder, George Soros. Isn't it funny how that works? What about Romania? Romania got rid of their liberal ways, elected a conservative. The court system, which again lawfare, the court system and their Congress, their representatives, throughout the election, said they're going to do another election, won't allow a conservative who won the election to run again. They kicked him out. So now pretty much you've got upheaval in Romania. I've been talking to you about Romania. You better watch it because that is going to be the next Ukraine. I've told you that. Well, guess what? Sources came out that George Soros is funding that as well. So it shows people are enemies against America. People are enemies against freedom. Prime example right there. Now that moves right on to the next, how legacy media and rhetoric and the political divide causes problems. Did you know that there was someone shot at the White House? Listen to this. Over the weekend, a man identified as an armed intruder was shot by the Secret Service agents after he attempted to breach White House security. This incident has sparked various reactions, but it shows people like Elon Musk saying that the legacy media has caused a lot of this problem because of the rhetoric they use and the political divide they use. It says, we have seen the fact that someone tried to literally hurt the president once more. Is this the kind of the world that we want to grow up in, that we have to worry about our leaders, we have to worry about lawfare, we have to worry about enemies within, we have to worry about mega billionaires who are investing in systems to dismantle ours, worry about our neighbors with Canada because now they elected someone even more further liberal than what Trudeau was. It's amazing how we haven't learned our lesson. It's kind of like back in the States. We hadn't learned our lesson. We keep spending money like crazy to realize there's no reason for it all. So is Congress the same way? I mean, are they enemies of its own people, especially when they're blowing our money and blowing the people's money, blowing the taxing of America, giving money to NATO when Americans truly, as if we're truly a democratic republic, if we didn't vote for it, why are we all of a sudden sending trillions of dollars over to these countries? So you see where we're at? We're at a point where a lot of these things that are caused by what we consider enemies within. Now Trump needs to stand tough. You know, he's kind of laxed some of the tariffs. I think he's getting a little weary. I hope that he will stay tough on the tariffs because I actually think this is a good deal. I think this is a good financial move. It will take a reset and it will be a transitional period, but I do think it will be for the best. Now let's move on to the last two stories that deal with, again, risk of ours. First, let's talk about what just happened with China and Russia. China and Russia warships have entered Iran's territorial waters for military exercises. It says they are wanting to do more together to go against some of the powers like America and NATO as they push forward and cause problems with conflicts across the world. So again, NATO is getting us in something that we shouldn't even been worried about getting into. I mean, there's NATO countries now, like Poland was one of them, that we should protect Ukraine no matter what. They should be Article 5 accepted. So that makes it like they're part of NATO, they don't give to it, and we're just supposed to protect them always. And we were pretty much the cause of all this if you go back to 2014. What's happening in Romania, like I told you, is happening because of NATO and because of global players, the EU, and other forms that wants to cause problems for America. Because pretty much it's going to make America pay for things if we stay in NATO. Let's go back to the story with Russia, China, and Iran. It says China's economy has fallen flat. They know that this will hurt them when it comes to the sanctions. It says they have slumped into deflation again for the first negative core CPI print since even 2021. So when countries start struggling, what they do is try to get their people's mind off of that problem. Therefore, like Biden, that's why he spent money like crazy. He put his focus on everything else so his economy was not looked upon. Well, that's kind of the same thing what China's doing now, I think. China knows their economy's in bad repair. So when people say America's bad, America can be, but the tariffs actually help us and they hurt the others more than it will ever hurt us. Well, part of Russia-China's alignment now is because Russia's sanctions are hurting them, China's tariffs are going to probably hurt them, and their local economies are hurting because of all their housing problems, their market crisis, all that. So what you see now is they're coming together. If they build an alliance, do you realize that's the other two superpowers other than America, and they are going against us and going against places like Israel and the Middle East. I mean, you just see that's what they're doing. They're going to Iran because they're trying to build an alliance against people like us in the West. Now, Trump said one thing this week, and I really liked. He said, it doesn't matter about the mineral deal now at all. We're not going to reestablish more money and more goods to Ukraine. Even with Lindsey Graham and all of them dying to send missiles over to Ukraine. And EU is still sending missiles. What's so funny is the EU missiles they're sending, most of them, it came out, there was a story that said most of them were old and actually had problems. Most of their missiles that they're sending over to Ukraine were kind of like junk piles. Isn't that funny? So again, they need America to fund all this, and Trump's saying no. So that's why all these people are getting mad at us. But ultimately, Trump said, look, not even a mineral deal now would allow me to send more missiles or money over to Ukraine. He says we need peace because he sees this alignment happening, and he knows no matter how strong America is, when you have China and Russia together, this is not good for America. So we need to pay attention to this story, and I think that's why you don't need to see these stars align. You actually need to see Russia find peace with America, and we all, not saying kumbaya, but we all get to a point where we realize we can be adversarial relationships. We cannot all get along all the time, but we cannot put one or two of these people together against another, because what's going to happen is America is the odd man out, and the two biggest superpowers in the world that is over mostly all exports and has one of the biggest natural rare earth minerals and natural gas possible, Russia, literally standing together. Nuclear arsenals and military alike, they're strong. And especially when Russia literally tells America, look, I want to do deals with you. I want trade with you. I want rare earth mineral deals with you. Forget Ukraine. We're bigger than that. Let's do deals. And you still have our Congress and EU wanting to go to war with these people. This is why we have to have peace, because the bigger play is if we keep pushing against Russia, Russia's just going to rely not on North Korea. I mean, North Korea's there. They're going to rely on China. And when China gets involved and you have two superpowers together, that's a big deal. Especially when China's market is deflating and hurting. They need something else. And this something else could be the push for war, the push for Taiwan, the fact that they're doing war drills with Iran. I mean, is that going to make a different trade partner right there that could be dangerous for the Middle East to cause us another problem in the Middle East? It all results back to the money that we're sending to Ukraine in NATO for wars. It all comes down to that. That's what blows my mind. So when you hear Elon Musk say, no NATO, and Trump saying, we need to probably pull out because it's not equal and it's not really helping us, it truly is not. It's a domino effect, and we're actually living it out each and every day. Now, one more thing I want to address, and just because I guess it's near and dear to my heart, because again, we just had a steer processed. We are visiting processed hog. Again, we have animals always we're raising on farm. We have eggs with no problem. I mean, our goal is to be sustainable and independent. Well, there's a new story coming out again from the UK saying within 2 years they could see a majority of lab-grown meat inside grocery stores. If we get to the point where we keep doing wars against our farmers and against the people that are actually growing our food and against the food sources, then what we're doing is we're seeing a bigger push of control. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because a lot of this funding, the same funding that we just talked about that's funding the Romania situation, the same funding that just put pretty much the Canadian leader in power, the same funding that is pushing all this conflict in the UK that's causing the UK to have major hiccups, all that is the same people that's pushing the funding for lab-grown meat. They know if you have freedom, then you're not controllable. You're not able to be controlled. But if you don't have freedom, then you are able to be controlled. You'll be just like everyone else, needing the government to assist you, needing the government to take care of you. Well, if they take your reliability off the farmer and reliability off the independence and sustainability of practicing raising animals, because remember, the war on animals is even bigger in the UK. It would have probably gotten that way if Biden would have won again. But it says that lab-grown meat will be a major source of the quote-unquote protein as they fight the climate and get rid of the farmers' problems with their emissions. This new leader of Canada, he's pushing for zero emissions, pushing the same thing. So all those ranches and all those farmers in Canada, what are you going to do? I mean, this guy is pushing for more control of your food, just like the EU has done. You wonder why he's tied to WEF and global initiatives, because he's funded by the same people. Now, what did I say when I started this video? We have enemies. And, you know, when you're the big dog in the world, you're going to have enemies. When you push a little bit, like Trump's doing with the tariffs and cutting funding off, you're going to make enemies. But the sad thing is, these enemies have been here for a long time. And it's time for us to root out these enemies. Now, here's what I want to challenge conservatives. And again, I don't know if any leaders are watching this, but here's my thoughts. If we can't elect people to make arrests, to prosecute bad things that are happening, to actually cut funding from places like ActBlue and Soros, who are literally trying to hurt our government body, if we can't do that, then what are we doing? I mean, we win a few votes to save daylight savings time, or to get rid of a standard time, or whatever it may be. Is that really a big deal? Just like our Congress are trying to basically set a limit to credit cards of 10%. I think that's stupid. That's called price controls. That's actually taking free market and free enterprise away. Now, should credit cards be paying 20 or 30% interest? Should you be paying 20 or 30% interest on credit cards? No, but you shouldn't be borrowing money at 20 and 30% interest and not paying off your debts. So it comes back to, again, being smart and being sustainable and being independent and being responsible. So we elect people to go to Congress. Republicans and Democrats both are saying now we want to do price controls. Is that what we elect them to do, is to control us more? And so where that is a slippery slope, what if they do price controls on food? Well, that takes the farmer out. Do you see how that works? So a lot of times our problem is because we elect people to do a job to make us free, but actually what they're doing is controlling us more. Taxation, controlling us more. Taking our money and giving it to 11-year-olds, 312 million during 2020, that's hurting us because that's taking away from our children and grandchildren, because you're taxing us and taking away, and it's making inflation take place. NATO, $8.4 trillion in the last decade we've spent. And what have we gotten for it? Really, what have we gotten for NATO? Do they come and protect us? Were they on our shores making sure we're safe? No. So why are we still investing in it? My thoughts today is this. We cannot just trust everybody when they say they have an R behind their name, or when they say America first, or when they say we're working for the people, because we hear that from our congressmen all the time. And most of them let us down. A lot of our media lets us down. A lot of our leaders let us down. So ultimately, we have to realize that we need to look at everything with eyes wide open to make sure that the people that we say we trust, the people that say they're working for us, are actually doing their job. Did you know that most incumbents that come from Republican states, the more conservative states, have some of the most biggest rhinos when it comes to going to Washington? Because we keep electing them blindfolded, and they just keep doing what they're doing and actually not doing anything for its people. It's time to change that. Let's wake up, let's be wise, and let's have a common sense approach to some of the enemies that we're facing. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this. I mean, again, another attack towards Trump. The fact that they're trying to destroy Elon's dealerships, paid for by ActBlue and the Democrats, something to pay attention to. Thank you guys for watching. God bless.